right. We are officially live. All right, we're going to start doing some color grading today. We had some good submissions, so we have a few different cameras that we're going to be taking a look at, the different color profiles, and talking about some calibration, a little bit of converting some HLG footage today as well, which that is going to be fun. I'm going to start diving into some HLG footage a little bit more. It's looking interesting compared to Vlog whenever I'm playing with the Panasonic cameras. So just want to make sure everybody can hear me. All right, as we're going, if you have any questions, just let us know in the comments. Also, Levi is on. He's going to be helping moderate for me, so he will let me know any questions that y'all have so that I can make sure I'm answering them. And we're gonna start diving in. Also, let us know in the comments where you're from. We would love to kind of see who's in the group, and we're going to be using this Facebook group a lot more dialogue between us and you guys. We're having some products that we're wanting some beta testers for, so I know a couple of you have reached out in the comments before. We're going to be launching a couple new products in the coming weeks, and so we just want to hear from you and see what tools that you're looking for to make your life easier. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and dive in and get started with some color grading. We just posted this video on our Instagram, and this was a shot that was on Vlog. This was with the Panasonic S1, and this is kind of our color breakdown. You should be able to see on this time we kind of fixed a little bit of a newer feature with our live settings, so you should be able to see all the stuff on the right here, which is going to be all of our effects and settings that went into making this grade right here. And you can see before, that's the original image straight out of camera, and then that is the fully graded shot. In this wedding we filmed where there was a lot of bright light, as you can see in this area, and so shooting log really helped us retain a lot of that information. And you can see up here on our RGB parade that we have all of that information there. Quickly, before we start grading everyone else's footage, which we have in here, I'm just going to break down this shot so that everybody can kind of see what it's looking like. So right over here on this first clip, or the first section of this clip, you can see that it's clipping close to 88 is going to be where the highlights are clipping on the S1. I believe the S1H is a little bit different. I'm testing that out some more, but I think that's clipping closer to like 95, which is interesting with the Vlog, but can't say for sure. I'm still working through that. But this one is clipping there, so we have a lot of information that we can push and pull. So nothing was actually clipping, which is really important. The first thing that we did is we just used Color Finale Pro for just white balancing this shot. It seems to do the best job for us that we've seen, and so we just click our white balance selector here and then just select a section of this bride's dress. And that kind of gets us close to just a white balanced image before we start applying some of our other features and everything like that. But I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And then the first thing that we did is we wanted to add our correction LUT. So if you have been following us, we just launched a couple weeks ago a Vlog conversion LUT. And this takes that log image and just really spreads it out to where we want, so that we get a good image before we start grading. And this doesn't push it too hard in saturation. It protects some of the highlights and still retains that information. But it also doesn't push the saturation levels a little intense in certain color ranges that other conversion LUTs do. It's also got a bump in the midtones so that the skin tones are still nice and pleasing. They're not really dark. And that's kind of the first thing that we did. Then we went over to the next section, the next clip, or the same clip again, but the next part of it that we did is we wanted to add something called Gamut Boost. This is a new LUT that we were working on, and some people have been beta testing this for us. Now what this LUT does is you can see without it, it's right there, and then with it even all the way. What this is doing is this is pulling back the highlight information that you can't really retain using color wheels or curves. it does it a little bit differently, and then it lifts up the shadows, and then it just adds some nice saturation to the highlights and saturation to the shadows, so that you kind of get a good overall pop to this image before and after. And now this, it feel like everything is just popping, the colors are coming alive, but not over intense, which is really important. So we kind of built this out. This is going to be one of the new LUTs we're going to be making available, and this is going to be part of us building out a toolkit that we're going to have available for y'all. We're going to try to build out a toolkit of some different features. So if there's things that you want that you would love to see implemented into your color grade to make things a little bit easier, just let us know. We're going to try to work towards producing tools that help elevate your films. And then going to the next part of this clip, this is where it comes alive with the LUTs. Now, whenever we were looking at this shot and we wanted to color grade it, I really wanted to start off with an Adagio part of the Adagio LUT collection that we've created. And the reason for that is it kind of gives a nice pop to everything. It makes the skin tones pop in the pink range, elevates the image, and we didn't want to make it too intense. So we put this at 50%, 50% opacity there. And you can see before and after, not too much, but just enough to make it kind of stand out and pop. And then we put a little bit more of a stylized look from Lotus, which is Lotus 2, and this is from Nirav Patel. And this kind of puts a nice, interesting color palette over it, where you get a slight blue look to the highlights, and then you get a little bit more magenta into the shadows, but you also get a nice creamy feel to it. So I like the way that that looks. And so if you were to see the full before and after, we would have this right here. Let me just go ahead and enable and disable these effects. There's before and there's after, and instantly we have a beautiful shot with the full dynamic range that we get from this camera. And if we wanted to, we could even crush the blacks a little bit more, since we have some more range down here, and we can push the highlights up. But part of the LUT and part of the look is to pull that down. So that was more of a stylized choice. So, all right, now let's kind of lean into these other shots here. We're going to be going over these shots. This was submitted last week. Let's look at the information on this clip. This one is by Spencer Purcell Films, and this was on a Canon camera, shot in neutral and flat. This one we might go over today. This was from a GH5 that was in the natural profile. Here we have a Sony camera, and this one is on A6500 using the Cine 4 color profile. And then again, we have another GH5 with the natural profile shot that we're going to be going over those. Here we have a really nice, interesting shot using Canon. This is going to be the EOS R C-Log. And I think I was messing around with some colors, so I'm going to take that off so that we work on this together and come up with this grade together. But this one was shot by, let's see who we have listed here. This was Visionize Media. This is NC-Log on the Canon EOS R. And then here we have some more footage that is from an A7S II. This was shot in Cine 4, which actually surprises me, because I feel like this looks like more like a Cine 2 profile, because there should be highlight information above 100 on Cine 4 for the highlight ranges. So I'm not sure about that. Could be Cine 4, or it wasn't blown out, even though it kind of looks a little blown out there. So that's interesting. And then the A6500 was also on Sony, and this was shot in S-Log 3. So we're going to be diving over some S-Log 3 stuff. And then I did a test today at our house with our daughter, and we're going to be going over some shots here. This one is going to be cycling through a natural profile from the S1, a V-Log shot from the S1, and then, sorry about that, and then also the HLG from the S1. And we're going to compare all of those and show you, and this is at 4000 ISO, and then this is at 640 ISO. And we're going to show you the difference and how we can recover all that highlight information. So these are the clips that we're going to be going over today. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments so that we can answer that. And if you're wanting to see, if you're one of the contributors for any of these shots, also let us know if there's any LUTs from Gamut that you want to see applied to see what it might look like. And we're going to be doing this every Thursday. So if I'm not able to get to any of this footage, we'll try to carry it over to the next week. And everybody can be able to submit their footage. If you're curious to know, hey, I would love to see what this LUT looks like, or I can't grade this shot, I don't know what to do, let us know and submit the footage. We're going to put a link in the description of this video so that you can submit your footage and be added to our list of footage to color grade every Thursday. So, all right. Any questions so far? Levi, how are we doing? I'm going to take a drink real quick. All right. Okay. So the first thing we're going to go over, we're going to start with this first clip. And this one is shot on the Canon in a natural flat profile. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of find a shot that looks really good, that has all the colors in it. Right now we're looking at this information over here, the RGB parade. So nothing's clipping. If it went over 100, it'd be clipping. And then anything below 0 would be clipping in the black levels. And this is the highlight levels. Vector scope, not a lot of color punch right now, which is totally fine. We don't need to do any adjustments pretty much. I think everything looks pretty good. If anything, you could see that where this white fur is on this bride, they're all pretty close. So I'm not going to adjust anything for white balance. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to come over here to my my browser for the effects, and we're going to go and navigate to our color tab, and we're going to add custom LUT. Okay, and if you are in Premiere, you will be just going to Lumetri and then going to your Creative tab, and that is where you're going to choose from the Browse menu to drop down to view your LUTs. So the first thing we're doing is looking at this wedding in this video. It looks a little bit darker, so there's two different directions we could go. We could kind of make this a little more elevated, a little bit more, I guess, high end, where you're getting pinker skin tones, you're getting a bright image, or we could get it a little bit more moody, a little bit more muted grass, and kind of have more of an adventure feel to it. So let's start there. And looking at this, I would probably start with Dolce. Dolce feels like a good, Dolce 2 is a good warm one. And that is just a clicked on for Canon, and that looks pretty awesome in my opinion. It pops really well. You get some nice warm skin tones. You're getting a nice muted greens. You get a pop of orange with that tree there. So that looks actually fairly well already. Now, the one thing I'm noticing with this shot, before we've added the LUT, the shot already kind of looks a little noisy. So we have a lot of noise here. We have some noise in the shadows. So there's something to just be mindful of. This might have been a higher ISO shot, so it's kind of pushing the noise. But overall, I think whenever we're adding the LUT, it's going to look pretty good. Maybe sometimes you might want to add a little film grain to kind of blend in that grain, or denoise using Neat Video is probably my favorite plugin, but it's very CPU intensive, so I'm not going to do it on this clip because I might freeze up my computer right now. But right now, Dolce 2, this looks pretty good, and I could even dial it down, but I think right about there, 0.9%. I mean, that looks just clicked on, clicked off, and it looks awesome. If we were to try a different one, maybe Dolce 4, that might be nice. Okay, so that's a little bit brighter and intense, but this one, if it's, it's losing a little bit of that color information, it's a little more pink to the skin tones, but maybe let's go ahead and add that color boost LUT that I was talking about earlier, and we're going to put this before the LUT, the Dolce LUT right now. Here we go. Let's put the Gamut boost. And man, I freaking love that. So I feel like what's really cool about this this Gamut Boost LUT that we're working on, we're beta testing right now with some of you, is it transforms a lot of LUTs. So if you have a LUT pack of 4 or 5 LUTs, now you have double that because you're getting a unique look now once you add it to it. So you go from just Dolce 4, which is nice, but you've kind of lost a little bit of the color because it's part of the look. It's more of a desaturated look, but you have more pure whites, a little more pink to the highlight range. And then when you pop this on, and this is at 100%. I mean, you could even play with it, but this is bringing more saturation back, protecting a little bit more of the highlights, lifting the shadow or lifting the midtones, and overall creating a really nice, pleasing image. So I really like the way this looks by combining that Gamut Boost LUT, getting a little bit more saturated in the skin tones, and Dolce 4. A couple more. Let's see, maybe Timbre. See, Timbre 2 is a more, yeah, it's a warmer one. Timbre 3 is probably going to be a good one where it's going to lift up the skin tones just slightly. And this one is a little bit more, as I said, warm, but you have more dark shadows. It's kind of brought down to create that contrast there. And that is from Timbre 3. If you wanted to change the mood and you wanted to have it a little bit more elevated, this one might be good with Adagio too. So we can start here and just bring it up to taste, probably right there at 60. Let's do 0.7% there. And you have that look. And that's just one click on and off. And I'm not having to do any adjustment to the clip because it looks good already straight out of camera. So I'm going to end off on Dolce 2. I feel like that was my favorite one kind of there. And then maybe a little bit of the Gamut Boost. And probably dial that down to taste. So I would say 0.5 on this one and then 0.85 on Dolce 2. And you have before and after. That's the image. Looks good. Okay, let's skip over here. Any questions on that one? All right. So we have a clip here. Now we're looking at Sony. Let's just check. This is from Red Vision, and they are using the A6500 with the Cine 4 color profile. And let's go ahead and find a clip that's a good one right there where they're kind of looking at us. I'm going to mark that so that we can reference that. Right now we can obviously tell, so this is the white levels, and we're going to want to make sure that everything's matched up there. You can see the peaks here. So you have red, green, and then blue. So this is telling us right now that this white border of this wall is a lot warmer, and so we're going to have to correct this before we add any LUTs. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to our video inspector for our window, and we're going to just add color wheels. And this is what you also have in Lumetri whenever you're working in Premiere. There's a couple differences. You get all of this except you don't get the saturation set apart, where you get saturation in the highlights versus saturation in the shadows. You just have an overall saturation slider. But there's another way that you can work with that, and I'll show you in a second. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to correct for the white balance. And the way we're going to do that is, since we know it's the highlight levels, we're going to go ahead and push up or towards the blues until these match up. So let's bring this down until all those levels match up. So let's bring the blues up a little bit more, and then just kind of going back and forth, kind of zigzagging until we kind of get close to that space right there. And that is where those white levels are a lot closer, and you can see that this white dress right here, the blue, green, and red, is a lot closer. So now we're working with a white balanced image. So now we're going to go ahead and add our LUT. I'm going to double click the custom LUT effect from down here. We're going to go back up. And let's see. So this one, I'm just going to start with Adagio, just because you have that pink wall, you have that yellow. This is also two colors, excuse me, that are close to the skin tone range. So you have the pink and the yellow. And so if you're using specific LUTs that might not be focused on skin tones first, you're going to have a really tough time creating a really pleasing image with LUTs. So this one, I'm going to start with again, maybe Adagio 2 might be nice here. That's at 100% right there. That is popping. And this one I might just dial down to probably 0.5%, so 50% there. And that's just a quick on and off, and the skin tone looks really nice. If you want it intense, let's crank it up. The greens are going to be popping, and that's a warmer version. If we wanted to go Adagio 3, it's going to be more of a light colored, but you're going to be having more blue in the greens. The blue jacket is popping a little bit more, but it's also raising the shadow level a little bit. So maybe if we do that, we're going to want to go ahead and add our color wheels and then just drop down the shadows, because there's some information down here that we can just pop down a little bit more if we want to add a little bit more contrast to that image. So not much, I mean just a touch there, and you can see before and after. We're kind of getting a nice contrasted image now, along with the white balance effect, obviously. So yep, so Cinema Grade is going to be a plugin that you can use inside Final Cut and also Premiere. Cinema Grade is more on-screen effects, so with shortcuts and everything, Denver Riddle from Color Grading Central created a really great program called Cinema Grade, and you can click on an image, and if you're choosing different keys, you can change saturation and levels. It's more of like it's a different way of grading and a different technique, so it wouldn't apply, you wouldn't have color wheels necessarily. It's more so touching the screen where you want and changing saturation, changing highlights, all that stuff. I haven't dived into it enough yet to speak to it. I have heard that it's kind of like a fun way to grade and it is a little bit different, but I haven't been able to test it fully to see how I could implement it into my workflow. Also, it's kind of more on a clip-by-clip basis, and we do most of our grading in adjustment layers that we drag across, so I haven't played with how it works with adjustment layers as well. It is probably good for more correcting footage and stuff, but as you want to create your own looks and LUTs and stuff, you're going to probably want to have two separate cinema grades, one for the clip, one for the adjustment layer, and that could be something to consider. And if that's something that you guys want to know, then I can look into that and we can try to create a tutorial so that we walk you through that process. So, but that's a good question. Yep. Probably Adagio 4 is kind of more of a light and airy one. It's just a lot more gentle. So if you're using a gentle LUT like this one, or say Dolce 4, which is another light one, you're going to get a totally different kind of look. So you see that one pulls away that pink skin tone there, or that pink level. So again, this one might be really great to add that Gamut Boost LUT just as a tool, because I feel like it adds a nice pop to the image and really boosts everything. Let's click that here. And yeah, like we said, it does what it's meant to do. It boosts the image in a really pleasing way. And again, I would dial this to 50. Now, Sony has a little bit more desaturation in the skin tones. They're also more warm. They're less pink, as according to Panasonic. So whenever you're grading, you might need a little bit more saturation in those ranges, but it does. I know Sony does push the greens a little bit more saturation, especially in Cine 4, and then also you're thinking of the warm skin tones. But this one, let's see, maybe Lotus 4. I know that one's going to be a lot more more on the warm side, so I'm going to take off the Gamut Boost. But you see, it kind of also darkens the skin tone a little bit. So let's maybe dial this back to taste. So probably right around. Yeah, 0.8 might be pleasing to that. If you want a stylized look, we could go with Lotus 2. It's one of our favorites, but you do get a specific look. It kind of changes the vibe a lot, and if that's what you're looking for, then there you go. But let's see. Maybe let's try a Stratus from Mango Street, and we can do the moody one. You can see you still have some nice pink and some nice yellow. Also, or their portrait. Let's see what that one looks like. And this is going to be smoothing out a little bit of the skin tone. So you have before and after. So here we're going to zoom in right here. So we're looking at the skin tone on this couple, and you have some contrast right here where it's brighter on his forehead, more shadow based on his jawline there. And when we add the portrait, it's going to smooth all that out and give you a nice, still somewhat contrasted image. And it's warmer, and you can see how it affects the pinks because his skin is closer to this wall back there and it's more pink. This LUT is going to make it a little bit warmer, which is why you see less saturation in that pink range. And if you wanted to pop that back, just adding this Gamut Boost LUT there, you could totally get that right back if you wanted to. So that's another look there that I think looks really good from Stratus. And then we also have the free LUT that we made for you guys. If you haven't purchased it yet or download it, it's free, and it's called our Method LUT, and everybody has access to that. And then you can see, I'm going to turn off the boost. So there we have the before, and there we have the after. You get some more muted greens. You get a warmer image on the skin tones, less pink. You still get a little bit pink, so you can see the separation of the yellows, but you get a little bit of desaturation in certain color spectrums. So you can kind of dial in the look that you want and play around with that LUT if you want. But overall, I think, let me see. Again, Dolce 2 might be a nice one for this. A little intense with the contrast. And Adagio 2, I mean, depends on the mood you're going for. So I'm going to go ahead and end with Adagio 2 there. And I think that looks fairly well. So we have the before, and then we have the after. Really pure whites, looks really clean. All right. Cool. Let's keep going. So we got the studs over here working from the GH5. And as I'm scanning through it a little bit, I'm kind of looking at some shots. It looks like, yeah, there we go. I'm also curious if the person that filmed this, let's see who this is, if they are watching right now, Red Vision, I'm curious to know what lens they used. I'm guessing that they used the Metabones adapter or the Viltrox adapter with the glass in it, because there's a subtle glow that happens on the out of focus moments, and I'm curious if they did use that, because I can sometimes tell in footage. But I think it still looks really beautiful, really clean. So with natural profile, which is what they're using, you're going to get a really high contrasted image where you're getting, very bright to all the way dark. The blacks are close to dark, so you won't have to change too much on the contrast levels there. But this one already looks pretty balanced, so we're going to go ahead and slap on some LUTs and see if we can make this image pop and create a really nice collective piece that's going to be added to this film. So, all right, Levi mentioned that you are in the group, which is awesome. Cool. Yeah, let me know in the comments what lens if you remember what you're using with this camera. That'd be good, helpful to know. Okay, all right, yeah, I shot with the 18 to 35 Sigma as well, which I heard is what you used on this camera with probably the Metabones or the Viltrox adapter. Viltrox, which is what I have. So that's how I know the glow effect. Subtle glow effect. Let's go with, let's see. Okay, since I want the greens, you have these guys popping a little bit. Let's go with Lotus 4. This is what I'm thinking right here. You are getting a little more magenta in the skin tones though, or in the jackets, just slightly. But you get the greens that are still popping, but you kind of get also smoothed out skin tones there. Let's see. Let's try. I know Lotus 2 is going to be stylized for sure. Maybe let's see Freebird 2. This one's going to be a warmer one. Let's probably dial that back. And then this one is, so Freebird kind of makes everything warmer, but if you pop on the Gamut Boost LUT, it really transforms the look that you're getting with that one LUT, which I think is really fun. So let's go ahead and go to Gamut Boost and pop it on there. And look at that. Boom. I think that's a pretty clean image, and you got before and after. It's not too intense of a style, but it is nice and adjusted there. If you want to intensify that LUT there, you can do that. But overall, I think let's try a different one is the one I'm thinking of. Maybe Timbre 2, maybe? Let's see this one. You got that look right there. Definitely warmer skin tones, more muted greens. Kind of created Timbre 3 more so for Panasonic. So it definitely lifts the skin tone range to make it pop out if you want to. Everything's elevated already, so I don't need to. And then Timbre 4 is more for a Sony camera, so the way the greens are handled are a little bit differently, as you can see. And then even, I bet Dolce 1. So Dolce 1, very even, it evens out the shadows, evens out the midtones and the highlights overall. Now this one, whenever you add the Gamut Boost LUT, literally makes it pop beautifully. So this is my favorite combination, is the Gamut Boost LUT with Dolce 1. This is a really fun one. And one of the beta testers mentioned this, where they loved using Dolce 1, and I tried it out, and it obviously connects really well. So you have this before image, and then you have this after image, a lot more pleasing skin tone. You have less reflections on the skin, so if you want them to be a little more even, or you want them to have an effect of feeling smoothed out, then this LUT combination of the Gamut Boost LUT along with Dolce 1 is going to be a really, really great combo there. So you can see pops there. And then also blue is part of their color combo, so we want to accentuate that in this grade. So you can see the Dolce one really makes it pop well. So here I'm also showing you this. Let's zoom in so you can kind of see. I'm going to show you a couple different skin tones and why this LUT is doing what it's doing and why it's. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off Dolce 1. And as you can see, here we have like harsh pink right here, a little bit more vibrant saturation in his knuckles. This gentleman's face right here is more pink. Then you have a more warmer skin tone here. You have a brighter skin tone. So you have all these different color spectrums. Right over here is where the red spectrum is. And you can see that we want the skin tones to be on this line right here. And so by adding this Dolce 1, you're going to see it bring all the colors closer together and consistent. So if you're working with a lot of different saturated levels of pigmentation, this is going to smooth that out. Now the Gamut boost is probably a little intense for this clip, so we're going to dial it back probably to 0.7. And then also I think I do want to bring down the exposure level in the midtones. So this is going to add a little bit more contrast. I'm going to zoom back. So here you have this image right here. Guys are hanging out. Dolce 1 looks really clean, and you have consistent skin tones across all these gentlemen, which you have the before image right here, and then you have the after, and just kind of added some nice contrast there. So let's see. Ooh, the method. Let me see the method what on this one. So I'm not going to need the intense Gamut boost on that one necessarily. Also, I'm going to put my correction up above there before we add the LUT. And this one is a very stylized look. Again, I'm going to go with Dolce 1 as my final answer. There we go. Looks super clean. All right. The greens still pop. You got some blues in the greens. You got different levels. It's not all muted. So I think that looks really well. And there's a shot over here, so we're going to copy and paste it to this other shot to see if it still works, which it should because the lighting looks consistent and the white balance is consistent. All right. Boom. So that was easy. All right. So before and after. Cool. All right. Before we get to this shot, I'm going to hop over real quick and show you some HLG. How many of y'all shoot HLG? That's what I would love to know. Let me know in the comment section. This is my daughter, Zeely. I just wanted to show a high contrast level where you had a blown out window here. Pardon the messy room, but deep shadows over here, bright highlights, and then you have skin tone right in the middle. So that was where I wanted to test this out really quickly. Nothing fancy. So I did 3 things. The first thing I did was I shot this using the natural profile on the Panasonic S1. Then I shot it on the Vlog profile, and then I shot it on HLG. And HLG is considered hybrid log gamma, and it is not a log profile, but it is made and it is kind of created more for the Rec 2020 color space, which is HDR for delivery. And what that means is it's going to be pulling and using a lot more colors and a lot more high luminance levels of those colors that we currently don't see displayed in a Rec 709 profile, or color space, which is what we're looking at right now. So when you're looking at your phone or your screen, now not all phones, but your screen, we're usually looking at footage in a Rec 709 color space. So this is a color space that is broader than the Rec 709. So we need to bring it back and dial it into what we are viewing. So with the HLG, you have this shot right here, and then you have Vlog. Now, you think that all this is blown out in HLG, but the way it's designed is you can dial all these settings back. So as you can see up here, all this highlight levels are clipped, yet they are not. We still can pull them back. So if we just go ahead, I'm going to add a new color wheels, and I'm going to pull down all of my highlights. And you will see this image come back to life. It's hauntingly amazing. So look at all that information that we just pulled back. Bam. That is HLG. You have that shot, and then you go to that shot. That information is still available. When you're looking at it on your camera, you do not see the blown out shot. You see the corrected shot. So you're filming it properly. But when you bring it in, and I'm editing in a Rec 709 color space, it's going to be outside that scope. So there's a few ways that you can use to correct this HLG footage before you start color grading it, okay? Now, the way that you can do that is you can manually do it just like I did where I pulled on the highlights, or a quicker way is let's go ahead and inspect this clip and look at the information. So we're going to go to the inspector window over here, and we're going to go down here where it says extended, and we're going to choose settings. And now that we're at settings, we're going to go to the color space override section. And here we're going to tell it to force this image into the Rec 709 color space before we start grading. And watch what happens. Boom. We can actually color grade this shot now. Now it is available and in the right color space for us to start grading, and we have all that information there before. So if I was to undo all that, so this is whenever I just pull down the highlights versus whenever I just used the color space override. Now I'm still going to be playing with HLG a lot more. I'm going to be recommending right now just using the color space override to Rec 709 that's built into Final Cut, I believe. I'm not sure if Lumetri has it built in yet, or if you, I think whenever you drag in a HLG shot, it automatically transforms to your timeline. You don't have to manually dial it in. So it shouldn't show blown out, but in Final Cut it does because it needs to be told it needs to go into this color space. So keep that in mind for you Premiere users. But in here, I'm going to use this one because if you can see, I'm going to go back. Whenever I pull down the highlights, the saturation levels are really intense in certain areas, and so I get a lot of fringing right here in the blue range where the light is blowing out on this ground, and then also out here it's blowing out a little bit yellow. And so if I were to use just the color space transform, then it's going to smooth out and it's not going to be as intense. So that's what I'm going to recommend for HLG. And then if you look over here at Vlog, I already have our Gamut correction LUT on there. Let's take a look. If you go to your, oops, let me go back to my video inspector right here. This is Vlog. Yep. So someone asked if you want to match colors on multiple cameras. We're going to be working on putting together a full breakdown video for you guys, and part of that is it all depends on the way it's shot too, because a lot of cameras have different color profiles, and if one's shot underexposed and if you try to lift it to match another one, it's going to be difficult. So if you're shooting correctly, proper exposure, proper white balance, sometimes there's things that you can do manually as you're eyeing it, or you can try to use like some kind of conversion LUTs, but there's not any out there that I've seen that are for basic versions like Cine 4 or like a natural profile or neutral profile. They're mainly for like C log to S log to F log or to V log, more log profiles, balancing them out. And we're going to be working on putting some out for you guys so that it's a lot easier, but a lot of it is analyzing using this waveform, RGB parade, and vector scope. So as I'm looking at this image, just to give you an idea, because this is HLG and Vlog, same camera, but the information looks different. So here, this is the before shot. This is Vlog. Oops, let's go back. This is Vlog, and then this is HLG with the conversion LUT. So you can see the difference between these two. I'm going to put on our Vlog to Vlog correction LUT, and then also HLG seems to capture the image a little bit differently. It's a little bit more warm than what Vlog is. So I'm just going to balance my Vlog shot using color wheels, which I've already done. And what I did here is I just took the shadows and I pushed it to blue. I'm looking at this space right here, this wall, which is shown right here, this blue, green, and red section. So I'm going to want to make sure my exposure levels are consistent between Vlog and HLG. And so that's what I did, using the shadow slider here for the exposure, pulling down the midtones and bumping up the highlights you can see before and after. This just dialed in the levels right here so that it matches HLG. So there's HLG, there's Vlog. Whoa, hold on. There's Vlog, there's HLG, and they look a lot closer now. So that is how I got the image to be a little bit closer, and then just dialing in any kind of saturation levels. You're looking at this vector scope to make sure that the colors are around the same area in saturation. So it looks like the HLG is pushing a little bit more in the yellow range, in the warmer range. So, and that looks like it's coming through on the ground over here where Panasonic V-Log is a little bit on the pinker side, and then HLG is a little bit on the warmer yellow side. So those are some differences. But overall, we just matched V-Log and HLG together. So HLG is another good option, and I'm going to start looking into it to see if we're going to recommend it and if we're going to shoot in it and how to properly work. On the Panasonic S1, it does have to be 10-bit in order to shoot, and you cannot shoot 4K 60 with HLG because you need 10-bit. So that is something to consider whenever you're looking at HLG. But this is all shot 1080p, 60 frames per second. And then obviously you can see the natural profile, you lose all that highlight information. That is why we are recommending V-Log now, because you just get so much dynamic range. You know, here we actually shot warmer so that we were protecting for those highlights in the natural profile, still blowing them out though. So we went from 4000 ISO to 640 ISO, and look at, you still have V-Log that is protecting everything, and you can still bump up the shadows and get a good clean image. And then there's HLG right here as well. So I feel like HLG and V-Log is going to be your best bet for dynamic range if that's what you're looking for. If you're trying to get, obviously we're not shooting bright outlit shots and then a dark moody shot inside. So again, we're using, if we're shooting 4K 60 and it's 8-bit, we are shooting natural profile on the Panasonic S1 camera. So that's just something I wanted to show you before and after of looking at what HLG is capable of if you're considering it to shoot at weddings. So there's the before again, and there is the after correction. So now we could throw on a LUT and work from there. Okay, let's dive back to this shot over here. We're going to be looking at this one. So this person sent in a clip, and they really wanted to see what it looked like because there's sun flare. Curious on how we would approach this and what to consider when we're grading this shot. So this was sent in by, let's check the information. I need to switch back to my extended meta view. This is by Visionize Media, and this was on the EOS R by Canon, and this was shot in C-Log. So let's go over here. So the first thing that we're looking at is where the clipping levels are, and it looks like it is clipping at 100, and then because there's a little bit of a backlit area, I think it's somewhat raising the shadow levels so that because it's just elevated because you're flaring a little bit. So you're not getting, you know, all the contrast that you can get necessarily right now. So we're going to take care of some of the corrections in post. So the first thing that we're going to do is before we adjust white balance, always change exposure first. The reason for that is if you change your white balance, that can also adjust some exposure levels slightly. And then also, if you're darkening an image, it's going to introduce certain colors or more saturation levels, and then you're going to already have to fix that anyway. So you might as well fix the exposure levels first and then move into your white balance correction. So here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just pop down. I picked an image, so we looked through this shot. The first thing we're going to do, don't grade a shot that's already flared, or don't start there, because you could correct it incorrectly. Like if I'm exposing for this, then I'm going to really crank my shadows down, but then once it smooths off, it's already going to be dark. So I'm going to find an image where it's somewhat even across the board, and this one seems like it's more even. So we're going to start with the shadows. Pull them down, get them closer to 0 there just to kind of create some more contrast. Again, when this blows out, it looks like it's blowing out more yellow. So on that highlight levels there, so we're going to be mindful of that. Now, because we want them to pop a little bit more, we're going to raise the midtones in the exposure, and then we're going to come back and combat that again with just going to the shadows. And this kind of gives me a nice image there, and then I'm going to be looking at these white levels here. Because we're already clipped and it looks somewhat consistent, we can just pull down the highlights just slightly to see where it's at. Looks like we need a little bit more blue in the highlights, just slightly. So right there, and then it's going to reset by double tapping that color wheel slider there. And then I'm going to go to my midtones, and I'm going to also cool this up a little bit. I'm going to probably bring it a little bit more to the blue spectrum right there. You are around a lot of green, so you're going to get a lot of green cast sometimes. So also pushing slightly to the magenta area as well. So you have a before and after. It's just a correction so far. Maybe even the shadows, if we wanted them to be warmer, obviously you can push them to be warm, or we can push them a little bit to being bluer. It depends on the look that you're wanting. Do you want this to feel cool or warm? Obviously, this was a sunset frame, so maybe I would like to have it a little bit warmer of an image. But let's kind of leave it back where it was, and we'll start there. We're going to add a little bit of saturation in the shadows. Just want the greens to pop a little bit more, and then the highlights just slightly. So there we go. We have that shot. Now let's go ahead and look at some LUTs and see what option would work for this. Okay. Let's see. This is in the inspector window. We have custom LUT. Let's just look at Adagio. This is probably going to be probably not the best option. Actually, Dolce is probably going to be the best one. Dolce 2 is probably going to be, yeah, okay. So Dolce 2 is warmer, but you get some nice deeper greens and you get warmer skin tones. So this really accentuates the mood and the environment where, hey, they are backlit. It's a very sunny time. So it's more flared, more whimsical, more dreamy. So what I'm going to be looking for is I want this to feel warm and cozy. And also I don't want the greens to be so vibrant that it pulls my attention away from them. I just want everything to feel warm. I do want a little bit of separation. I want the whites to feel pretty white. I don't want them to feel warm. I want the rest of the image to feel warm. And so with Dolce 2, we get that warm feel, but we also get a really nice pure white look. So that is very important. And then also you get some darker greens and a nice contrast to it. So you have this shot where we're looking at it. This is Dolce 2. You get a nice flare. The greens balance really well. And then you also have the shot here. So Dolce 2 seemed to be fairly working really well. Dolce 4 is going to be more on the pink side, but this one might work if you add the Gamut Boost LUT. Let's see. I'm just going to navigate that up here, choose that, and navigate to Gamut Boost. And this is pushing, all of a sudden the first thing I saw was this flower right here that's red pop even more, which I'm not necessarily wanting to, but it is going to be pulling back those highlights, as you can see on the RGB parade over there. It's kind of doing that. So maybe that's something that we don't want. I think I like it without it, actually. So I'm going to keep it there. Maybe you could always dial back Dolce 4 if you wanted to, but I feel like this really, like here we're looking at what's drawing my attention. Well, obviously you have the harsh light behind them, and then you have this area, this forest area where there's a lot of the light peering through it, and over here, so you get a nice depth of field, so you can see things pop, which is really great. But again, I really want to focus in on them. So the Dolce 4 kind of does that, where it really draws your attention to this white bridge, where they're at. And then also we have a tighter shot. So let's go ahead and copy and paste that to this one and see what we're working with here. Again, I'm not using adjustment layers right now because I am using just individual clips. But if I were to put this on multiple clips, I would put in an adjustment layer, which we have available on our site. If you visit gamut.io, we have a free adjustment layer that you can download for Final Cut Pro X, and you can stretch it across your shots and then add your LUT to it. All right, so here, have this image here, and we're going to again look for the shot that isn't flared out yet. So right about here, and it looks like I might need to adjust my color wheels, mainly because it had a little bit more saturation than I preferred, and I think it's kind of pulled down a little bit too much in the shadows. So right about there, it does look like this image has a little bit of noise, a little bit either underexposed or I'm not sure any of the settings that it had. Also, let's go ahead and add a little bit of sharpening. So I'm going to add Alex 4D creates a really nice sharpening tool for free that I've been using, and I usually set it to 2 and then 0.1, and that gives me a nice sharpened image that I can use. But overall, this is looking good. I would probably put some denoise or neat video on this just to kind of clean it up a little bit and make it pop. But again, I'm not sure of the settings that we're on here. Sometimes using ND filters can make things look a little bit noisy, but overall this image is beautiful. Great skin tone, great composition. I like the motion that they're creating also, or that they're moving in. Also the flare, it's nice and whimsical and beautiful, and yeah, so kind of liking that. I'm going to scoot over to here. So this is where you would kind of grade, is the shot right here. And then I'm going to go to Dolce 2. Let's just see Dolce 2. So that one's going to be a little bit different. I don't think I'm going to go with that one. Maybe Dolce 3. Let's see that one. Again, that one's darkening in a little bit. So Dolce 4 kind of elevates that mid-tone and highlight levels a lot more, which is probably ideal. Free the Bird could be interesting because this is going to warm up everything, but you'd probably want to adjust your white balance a little bit. Also, the yellow is a little more neon yellow than I would prefer instead of a warmer yellow. So when I'm looking at this shot, I might, it still looks good there. Maybe add a little bit of the Gamut boost. I'd probably dial it in a little bit differently, honestly. So again, let's try Timbre. Timbre might be, that one's going to be a lot more moody. So I think overall Dolce 4 is going to be the one that wins here and looks the most pleasing out of these shots. So really nice pure whites, some good contrast in the greens, and overall a really clean image. And you could dial down any of the intensity that you want. If you don't want it to be that expressive, you could just dial it down to taste. So even at 0.4%, 40% there, you have a before and after, still blends really well. But overall, I'm thinking a good, let's go 100% there. Before and after. Automatically, they pop so much, and I absolutely love that. So the Dolce collection is really great, especially for Dolce 4 on this shot with the EOS-R shot in C-Log. Cool. Okay. Let's just take a look at this one. This is shot Cine 4 on Sony A7S II right there. First thing I'm going to do is check any of the white balance. I'm going to bring down the black level. Sony kind of raises up a little bit of the shadows a little bit more, so you'll have some more information to pull them down. I'm going to try to get as much contrast as I can out of this image. So also on Sony, you get a little bit on the skin tones. Whenever you're shooting a little bit brighter, you're going to lose a little bit of the color that's coming to their skin tone. A couple ways to combat that is obviously you could use that Gamut Boost LUT that is going to pull down some of that shadow levels while introducing a really nice level of saturation. In this case, let's just see what it looks like there. So we get some more saturation back. Probably not as intense, but before and after, so you're getting some more color back into their skin tone. Another way is to use the color curves. Now this really affects more Sony footage that I've noticed in other cameras, but let's use our Luma curve right here and just select the forehead of this groom right here. And so that's the range that we're wanting to look at. I'm going to pin these other areas. And if we just pull this down, what this is going to do is I'm going to overdo it just so you see. This is going to smooth out any of the contrast or the highlight levels in skin tone. So if you want things to feel a little bit smoother, a trick that you can do with skin tones is pulling down this section of the curve, but doing it way gentle. Don't overdo it, and you can kind of get a nice smooth look to it. So you have before and after. And by doing that, by pulling down the exposure level or the luminosity level of that skin tone, then you also introduce a little bit more saturation, which is why I prefer to do it this way, and you get color pop back into it. So that's something I would do to kind of get that shot where I want it. Now let's go ahead and add a creative LUT. And this one, so reds look really good on Adagio and Dolce 2. So Adagio 2 is going to be the warm one. Now this is going to pop a lot probably. Yeah, so this is, I mean, if you want the reds to pop, this is gorgeous. And this automatically is looking really good. You can see on this saturation, this vector scope, that the saturation levels are really intense. So maybe if you want to dial it down, you can dial it down to taste. But I mean, one click. Adagio 2 on Sony footage is gorgeous in my opinion, and you don't have to do much. It just gives you nice warm skin tones, even a little bit on the pinker spectrum, warmer greens, and then a really nice pop in the red, which is hard to do, hard to pop red without affecting skin tones. And that's what we really dialed in with Adagio collection, is isolating skin tones and then pushing other colors. Like if you have a LUT that is very saturated, it's hard to find good LUTs that push colors and saturate levels without affecting skin tones and damaging them. So that is something to consider. If you're looking at the Adagio collection, that one works really well. Let's just look at Adagio 3. That's going to give more of that film stock, that Fuji look, I think. That's more that Fuji 400. And also those pastel colors, you get a little more pinker, lighter skin. Adagio 1 is going to be pretty intense on the pink. Yeah, so you get a lot more pink popping in there. So I think I would go back to this one. You're going to get a little more blue levels, a little more blue in the shadows. You can see it elevated over here than you would Adagio 2. So that's a preference, whichever one you prefer. Also, if you want, let's see, maybe Dolce 1 with the Gamut boost on here all the way to the top. So this one you could do there. And then maybe let's go ahead and just bump up the saturation level and the highlights just to give a pop to this image. And this is, creating your own look now, maybe let's just raise up the shadows or the midtones there. And let's just pull down a little bit of the saturation in the shadows. And there you get an interesting look because we just took a LUT. And man, you get the skin tones that are smoothed out because you have that color curves there. And then because you're using Dolce 1, that really smooths out skin tones. Dolce 1 is really, people don't know about it that much because it's not as intense. But once you combine it with like Gamut Boost or you want to push colors, it's got the most control. So if you're wanting to really start with a good base, Dolce 1 is an amazing base that you can push and pull and make your own look. So that is something to really consider. Again, if you're wanting to check out any of our LUTs, if you're visiting our website, gamut.io, we have these LUTs available and they're on sale for a very limited amount of time. We're going to be taking off this sale very soon, but I just wanted to show you guys what you're capable of doing with these different LUT collections and how they work and how they push and pull skin tone. I'm going to go back to those color wheels and just kind of go back to finessing what I had there so that reset that. I think overall I'm going to leave on Adagio 2 or Adagio 3. And then I'm going to take off Gamut Boost because I don't feel like we need that one necessarily with this. And then maybe even Adagio 3. I'm going to go back. You just keep playing back and forth. I feel like this is the game of a colorist where you just are constantly checking to see what works and what doesn't. But overall, you have this really nice image. And all the colors pop, especially in this ceremonious traditional wedding. All these colors you want to pop because this accentuates a lot more of the colors. You get beautiful colors at these weddings as well. So this is really fun to play with. Adagio is built for all those colors to push and not mesh and stay in their own color spectrum, but also create a nice elevated look to your films. This one's going to be a fun one. Okay, we're kind of winding down here. If you have any questions, let us know so that we can make sure we're answering them before we finish this session on this week's episode of Live Color Grading. This one is S-Log 3. Okay. First thing we're going to do, S-Log 3, and this is on the A6500, this is 8-bit. So that means if I'm going to be pushing these colors, you're probably going to introduce some banding and some artifacts. So it's going to be more difficult to push and pull with this image. That's why we usually recommend Cine 4. Because you can push it, but you don't get as much dynamic range as S-Log 3. If you're to use any S-Log, S-Log 2 is better than S-Log 3 because it's not as flat. As you can see, the black levels are above 25 and the highlight levels are below like 90. So S-Log 2 is a little more spread out so that when we spread it out, we're not introducing any kind of unwanted noise or artifacts. So let's find this image right here. First thing we're going to do, exposure, okay? I'm going to do that. You can either do it with curves or you can do that with color wheels. I just like the control I have with color wheels, and I've practiced with it the most. So I'm just going to increase the highlights until they are right at that clipping point. I don't want to clip the colors right there. Bring those shadows way down. There we go. Okay, and then also I'm going to bring my midtones, and And I'm just going to darken that image a little bit more. Once you do that, the next step you're going to need to do is you're going to need to add saturation back into the image. Looking at everything, I'm going to bring my highlights, my saturated levels in the highlights, and the saturated levels in the shadows. Now, if you're wanting to do this on Adobe Premiere, you don't have these tools right here. The way that you would do that is in your hue saturation curves, you can go to luminosity versus saturation. I think this is it. And what you're going to do is you can kind of look at it as this is the saturation, or this is the shadow area, this is the midtone range, and this is the highlight range. And so if I'm to pull out any of the saturation of the highlight levels, this is what would do that. If I pulled it out of here, which is the midtones, so you can see I'm losing it there, and then also if I'm pulling it out of the shadows, I'm doing it there. So this is kind of where, if I'm pushing and pulling, you'll kind of see that's how I'm doing it over here. So if I were to push the saturation in the highlights and push the saturation in the shadows, this is somewhat what it would look like. I'm probably going to change the scope of it though and have it a little bit more like that. So here you see before and after. That way it's protecting a little bit more of the mid-tone saturation levels, which is where the skin tones lie. I'm just going to disable that for now. Hop back over to our color wheels inspector window, and this is where we're going to fine tune a little bit more. I'm going to add I'm not going to touch saturation levels because I want to go ahead and add a LUT and see what works there. I am noticing though, I'm probably going to want this image to be a little bit warmer, so I'm going to use the mid-tone slider and just warm it up a little bit more. Because this is all these colors and these pinks and pastel looks, I'm going to want to start with Adagio as an option. I feel like that's going to kind of elevate this luxury look and this feel that the couple probably wants. And you can go any way that you want. So whatever style that you're wanting to film, you can do. I'm just going to start with Adagio. Adagio 1 is going to be really pink heavy, as you can see. But, I mean, you get a really nice, clean pastel look. And that's to S-Log3 footage, which, I mean, that's one click on and off, and you get this image, which is pretty good, in my opinion. I'm going to stick with, let's go back to a frame that shows all the colors there, right there. Let's go to Adagio 2, which is going to be a little bit warmer. Okay, so you have before and after. So there's Adagio 1, which lifts more of the shadows. So you can see the hair on her head are kind of lifted up with the luminosity levels of that. And Adagio 2 kind of brings that down for more contrast. Adagio 3 is going to be, so it's going to pop. The greens might be a little too intense, and if so, then you're just going to come over here to your hue saturation curves, which I'm going to do this after the LUT, just to show you an example. And I'm going to reset this luminosity versus saturation, and we're going to look for the saturation levels in this green spectrum here. Click and drag. You can do this in Premiere as well. Actually, it's too much of a range. I'm just going to click. I'm just going to dial that out. So you can see I'm desaturating all those greens just so they're not so intense. So maybe this feels a little bit more consistent at another point. Smooth it off. If you want this to feel warmer, but you like the pink look, but you want a little bit more warmer look, you can go ahead and make this your own. So let's go to hue versus hue. We're going to select the hue color, which is green, and we're going to make it a new hue color, which is warm, which is what we're going to want, which is more of a yellow color. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go up and down and kind of see which direction we want to go. I feel like if we go up, we're going to get more of a warmer look to that green, those greens. So spread that out a little bit more. Not too much because we don't want to get too much into the skin tone area. But there we just changed the color of the green from being more bright and saturated and popping, which is kind of drawing attention, to be a little bit more desaturated. And maybe we want the reds to really pop and draw attention. So we're going to select the reds, saturate that, make it really stand out. Not too much. We're going to be looking at this vector scope to make sure it's not too far out there. But here we created a whole new look with S-Log3 to this shot, which really elevates the experience. I feel like it showcases the beauty of this space, gives you really nice exposure levels, really great pop colors. It's not giving you harsh reds in these shadows of skin tones, which sometimes happen with certain LUTs, but Adagio 3 is going to be a nice one that pops, and then you can balance it out with your own correction. So here we did our own correction where we just wanted to have more of a warmer look to the greens, but still using the base of Adagio 3. And maybe we wanted to dial this back down to maybe 90% there. So that is a whole new look that we got with S-Log3 footage. So that is pretty spectacular, that I thought was really interesting in that look. All right, any other shots? Let's see if I'm missing anything. I think I did pretty much all of the shots that we wanted to go through for today. If you guys have any questions, just let us know in the comment section and we'll make sure we're able to answer that. I'm just going to check in with Levi to see if he's got any questions for us before we bid farewell. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to submit footage and see what it looks like color graded, we're doing this every Thursday in this Facebook group, so you can join. We're also going to be re-releasing these videos through our YouTube channel, Gamut. So if you're going to youtube.com/gamut-io, then you can also review this in a higher quality. I know Facebook limits it to 720p, so go ahead and visit our YouTube channel and subscribe so that we can you can rewatch this video and you can learn. And we're going to be putting this out every Thursday, like we said. We'd love for you to join, ask us any questions, send us really difficult footage. We would love a good challenge as well. And we are so thankful that you're able to tune in. Again, let us know any comments and what you want to see next in this video. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Color Grading Live on Thursdays with Gamut.